Hi, everyone. Welcome to HPH India. I think our numbers will probably increase as and when we talk, but then it's okay. We have to start. We have asked Kerry for her time. So I start with the mission statement. Our mission at HPH, Helping Parents Heal, is a non-profit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to becoming shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone regardless of religious or non-religious background and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at the HPH meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are helpful to parents all around the world, and they are posted on our YouTube so that affiliate members who are not able to attend live can also watch. HPH offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and learn about afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of HPH, but we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. With that as a mission statement, I want to extend a very, very warm welcome to Kerry. I met Kerry in the most synchronous way. She reached out to me and Anal through an email and wanted to talk about her books. And she was gracious enough to also offer us a book so that we could read and understand her work. So Kerry comes from Melbourne. She's a psychic medium and author from Melbourne, Australia. And she moved in Melbourne in her late 20s, married her husband, Sergio. There's a love story there, folks, in 1990. And they had 2 children soon after. Her working life is varied, but she has essentially worked with people. She's a passionate traveler, a lover of people. She has a shared enthusiasm for seeing the world with her family and has traveled extensively to many, many countries. In her mid-50s in 2015, Kerry commenced her mediumship studies at the prestigious Arthur Findlay College in the UK. Her first book, A Mother's Journey, A Story of Everlasting Love and Evidence of Life After Death, was released in 2018, and it details the tragic passing of her son, 19-year-old Sam. Her subsequent discovery of her untapped abilities as a medium continued her journey further. A Mother's Journey was stocked in Australian, New Zealand bookstores. It's become a very big book selling. It's become a big bestseller, and it retails in major libraries and online internationally. Kerry in 2020 began writing her second book, Demystifying Mediumship, What Makes a Medium, and that was released in Australia and internationally in November 2021. The book showcases the lives of 17 mediums from different countries of different ages and backgrounds in a series of mini biographies that explores each person's pathway to discovering their own medium abilities. She's a regular presenter at Mind, Body, and Spirit festivals in Melbourne and Sydney. She has hosted her own online program, Lifting the Wheel to the Afterlife, on the Awake TV network in the USA in 2019 and 20. She's appeared in Mamma Mia and Nine Honey magazines in 2018, in Take 5 magazine in 2022. She's been really busy, guys. Okay. She was interviewed on Messages from the Other Side podcast in New York in 2019 and on Psychic Matters, a London-based podcast, in January 2022. A Mother's Journey was selected by Helping Parents Heal Book Club in the UK and as a book to read for the month of February 2022. She's spoken to many group members of the HPH via Zoom. Recently, she was a part of the HPH Australia group as a speaker, and we are very fortunate to have her today for HPH India. Please welcome Kerry. Over to you, Kerry.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chandra. And I just want to thank you and Anal for inviting me along to be a part of this. I'm absolutely thrilled, and thank you for that. And I'd also like to thank Elizabeth Boisson, I'm not sure if that's how you actually pronounce her name, in the US for actually starting Helping Parents Heal. It's an amazing organization. And I wish that I knew about it sooner, because I only really found out about it earlier this year when I was contacted by the UK branch. So yeah, I just wasn't even aware of it, which is amazing. So today I'd like to talk about, I think that the first thing to talk about is, yes, I am a medium and an author. I'm from Melbourne, Australia, but most importantly, I'm Sam's mum. And that's what makes me eligible to be a member of the group here. And I'll talk more about Sam shortly. I think firstly, it's really important to understand what mediumship actually is, because for a lot of people, mediumship is just a word, or it's a mystery, or they just are very, very unclear about what mediumship is. So in very simple terms, mediumship is it's a connection or communication between this world and the afterlife, the spirit world. And the person who is making that connection is the medium. So we are a neutral person. We don't know anything about who we're reading for usually, and believe me, that makes our job much easier if we don't know anything about you. I know that sounds odd, but the more we know, the harder it is. So that is our role, to be able to communicate with those loved ones who are in spirit. Now, it's not like a lot of people who aren't familiar with mediumship think that it's a normal sort of conversation, that we can just kind of be telepathically just saying, you know, what's your name and how old are you, and you know, share some messages that way. It doesn't work like that. As mediums, we're very, very much feeling into the energy that we're feeling, and we get our information a number of different ways. Now, it's through seeing. Sometimes we'll see a spirit, or we'll see a scene, or sometimes we'll hear. And some mediums just work with those two modalities. Others will work with a whole bunch of other ones as well. Also, very importantly, we will work with a knowing, where we just know that we're receiving information, and we don't process it ourselves. We just share it with the person who we're reading for. And we will often feel emotionally information coming from the spirit world as well. And they're the emotions that the spirit communicator is putting upon us, which is what we share. Some mediums, I don't work this way, but they can also smell, and they can taste. Now, I can't smell in everyday life, so I can't smell when I'm communicating with the spirit world. So there's just a few ways to outline how mediums get their information. It's not just listening. It's certainly not that. Now, I think it's also important to explain that there's a lot of confusion between what a psychic reading is and a mediumship reading, and a lot of people don't realize that there is a difference. A psychic reading is where we are reading into your energy, so the energy of a living person, and we're able to feel what's happening in your life, what you've endured in the past, what's happening in the present, and indeed what might be happening in the future. So that is what a psychic medium does, but a medium will then take it the next step on. They'll be able to read you psychically, but they will also be able to make the communication with the spirit world. So that's why there's often confusion. And it's really important that if you are going to see a medium to communicate with a loved one, that you find a psychic medium, or someone that just calls themselves a medium or a spiritual medium, but not just someone who reads living energy. And some people don't realize there is a difference. So, of course, at the end, you can ask me any questions at all about what I've just talked about there with mediumship, but I'd like to talk about my own story and our story. Our small family is my husband Sergio, daughter Carla, who's about to turn 31, and our son Sam. Now, tragically, we lost Sam in a car accident 10 years ago. Tomorrow, actually, is the anniversary of his passing, the 3rd of May. He was 19 when he passed. And it was for, just as you've all had to experience, your life just changes completely. Now, prior to Sam's passing, I had no idea about mediums or mediumship. I didn't know what it was. I always had believed, right from childhood, I always believed that life, that there was an afterlife. I didn't know how to explain it in words, but for me, it was impossible that you could just not be here anymore and that little voice within would be silent. So for me, I'd always believed in something beyond a physical death. Now, when I was 18 years old, I tragically lost my father. And it may sound really strange, but my dad's anniversary is also tomorrow. So 44 years. So I lost my son and my dad both on the same date, but 34 years apart. So the 3rd of May is it's a very difficult day. Now, when Dad passed, that was in a workplace accident. He died. He was only 48 years old. But I immediately felt a connection or an ongoing communication with Dad. I knew that he was still around me. I just never felt that he was in that grave when we would go to the cemetery. It just made no sense to me because I could feel him around me. Now, as Chandra mentioned before, I did have a normal working life in all sorts of things: health insurance, business development manager, retail. I've been a restaurateur, sales and marketing, all sorts of things. And I would never have thought for a moment that in my mid-50s that my career would take another turn, and that turn is becoming a medium and also an author. Now, 10 years ago tonight, because that's when I had the premonition, I went to bed, got home from the restaurant. That was my last, when we had the restaurant there. And I had this horrible dream that I was being led away from the restaurant. It's a city location, and I was being led down the laneway in tears by the police. Now, I had no idea why, but it really bothered me. And Sam wasn't home that night. He was staying at a friend's place, and he'd asked if he could stay the night, and that was fine. And but when I woke up the next morning, I still felt really uneasy about everything. So I rang Sam, but sorry, just backing up, I realized that it was the anniversary of Dad's passing. So because Dad died in a workplace accident, the police came to see me. So I kept thinking, well, I'm just thinking about that. But what the premonition did do was prompt me to ring Sam. So I rang him up as I was going back into the restaurant. We had a lovely conversation, as we always did. We were incredibly close. And he just, his parting words, which was completely normal for Sam, love you, Mum. And, I was going to catch up with him later on. Now, an hour and a half later, Sam had passed in a car accident with two of his mates. Sam was 19, the two other boys were 18, and all three passed away. It was a wet, rainy day, and it was a freak accident. They clipped a car, hit a tree, and he was driving our family car, and it caught fire in the boot, and they perished. Now, from the moment, and of course, indeed, the police did come and find me and lead me away in tears, just as my premonition had told me. Now, right from the moment Sam had passed, I actually felt very, very connected to him. We got home from the police station, our house is filling up with friends and family, and I felt very much that he was still there. And Sam started to communicate with us in those first few days and weeks by playing around with the electricity in our kitchen dining area. And his friends would always text to say, look, can we come over? He had a massive, massive friendship base. And I'd always say, yes, absolutely. And only on the times that his mates were coming, I'd put the lights on because it was winter here in Melbourne, and the light globes would blow. So anywhere between 1 or 2 or 3 light globes in that area that had 7 lights in it would all blow. But just to, that was Sam's way, I believe, of letting us know, I know my friends are coming, I know what's going on. And for me, that was just amazing. My husband, not so much. He thought we needed an electrician, but I'm like, no, there's more to this. And 6 weeks after Sam's passing, I went to see a medium for the first time. My sister-in-law had been to see one, and I was amazed by what she told me. And so I decided to find my own medium. I didn't want to see someone that she had seen. And excuse me, I Googled this lady's name, gave her a call, and I just said my name was Kerry, no other details. And that was that. And I went home and said to my husband, and daughter Carla, look, I'm off to see a medium. And they're like, what's that? And I could barely tell them because I really didn't know much about it at all. And they were worried. And my husband said, look, can I come with you? And can you please come to the grief counselling session that I've got booked that morning with the Traffic Accident Commission, which is the TAC here in Australia. And I agreed to that. Now, I rang the medium back just to say, can my husband come? She said yes. Once again, no other names mentioned, just she knew my name was Kerry. Now, I spoke to Sam that morning prior to all of these things going on, just as I talked to him every single day. And I said, look, sweetheart, Dad and I are going to see a medium, have no idea what she's going to do or what's going to happen. And I remember giving him her actual address. It felt ridiculous, but I'm telling him she lives at 6, Milton Street, whatever, in the suburb. And because I couldn't work out how, my rational mind's trying to say, well, how can he possibly find this medium? But so I did that, went off to the grief counselling with Serge. And to be honest, I absolutely hated it. The woman was lovely, but everything that she talked about was just about finality and moving on with life without Sam, and none of it made sense to me. There was no mention at all about the afterlife and the spirit world, and when are we going to talk about that? And it was just like it's not in their belief system, and I left in a worse state than when I arrived there. So we went from there to the medium, and as soon as we went in, this woman who answered the door, she was just lovely, kind, gentle woman in her 60s, and we sat down and she said, look, the strangest thing has happened. She said, I have had a spirit waiting all morning for you to arrive. And she said that never happens. They only normally come when the sitter arrives. But Sam had listened to us, or to me, and he'd found her, and there he was. So she couldn't believe that, because that was not normal procedure. Now, it was a beautiful, beautiful reading. Sam was there, and her opening words were, you are a mother grieving the loss of your son, aged between 18 and 20, and Sam was 19. So that was the beginning of the reading, which was amazing. And then she went on to say how my dad was there, which also blew me away, because Sam and Dad obviously never met, but then I realized, well, it's irrelevant. It's all family and everyone's in the spirit world together. So it didn't, of course he'd be waiting for Sam. And then she said, there's also a woman here all dressed in black. And Sergio's family heritage is Italian. And he lost his mum at 16. So she was there waiting as well. So it was just like, wow. Now, we left that reading, well, me in particular, Serge just couldn't believe it. And I could believe it, but I left with hope in my heart, because I knew without a doubt that, yes, there is no such thing as death. The physical body dies, but not the soul. And that my life then went from going in that direction to heading off in this direction. So I I felt such a healing from that reading. And I then decided that I needed to explore things further. And once again, I had no idea what I was looking for. I just listened to my own intuition, and I Googled, don't even know what I Googled, but this woman's name came up. And I ended up joining a development circle. Didn't know what that was either, but it felt right. Signed up, paid for 8 weeks to attend. Once again, just trusting my gut. And off I went, and I absolutely loved it because I was with a group of like-minded people. I could cry freely every week in this session. You know, we were learning to tap into our psychic abilities, but it was very cathartic for me to be able to talk about Sam and so on. Now, in this group, we didn't do anything to do with mediumship. We talked about it, but we didn't actually do anything with it. We were doing tarot readings and reading one another's energy and those sorts of things, but still a great starting point. And I remember saying to Tony, the teacher, I knew she was a medium as well, and I said, "Where did you learn mediumship?" And she said to me, "Arthur Findlay College." And I thought, great, I'm going there. And so I just thought it was in Victoria, which is the state we live in, or maybe another state of Australia. And she said, "Kerry, it's in the United Kingdom." And I'm like, oh, okay. So we were well traveled. So that didn't faze me. I just knew that that's where I was going to go. And I went home and made another announcement to my family that this time I'm off to England to study mediumship. And I think they thought I was, losing the plot a little bit, but they were very, very supportive. And in early 2015, I went off to Arthur Findlay College for 2 weeks, so 2 1-week courses. And it was there that I was put to the test to find out if I had mediumistic abilities. And I do. I found out that I did. And then that was from there my beginning of starting to really, really explore my mediumship. Now, I started going to that college every year for 2 weeks, so until COVID. So I've had 10 weeks there so far, and I absolutely love it. But from the moment I came back from the college, I started doing readings for clients, both mediumship readings, psychic readings, mixture of the two, and so on. Now, I had read a lot of books about what happens when people pass over into the spirit world, but I could never find anything that truly told me what I needed to know. And so in 2017, I decided that I was going to write my own book because I wanted to answer questions for other people because I couldn't find those answers. I went to the college and I had a reading with one of the tutors. This was in January 2017. And in that reading, she was actually doing a spiritual development reading, not a mediumship reading. So the tutors there, they do readings and they look into what's going on around you and your aura and where you are with your development, etc. So it's a highly skilled thing that they do, and it's quite amazing. And as Angie's doing this, I felt Sam come in and I just knew he was there and he was so excited. And in my mind, I'm saying to him, "Sam, calm down, calm down." And then Angie just stopped the reading and she said, "Kerry," she said, "this is not supposed to be a mediumship reading, but your son is here." And that was like, that was wonderful for her to say that, because sometimes you still think you're making it up, and to have her say that to me, I'm like, "Yep, thank you. Yes, I know he is." And she said, "There's a book. You're going to be writing a book." And excuse me. And I said to her, "Yes, absolutely." And then Sam's super excited again. And that's when she was saying, "He wants you to write this book. He knows that, you need to write it." So I had taken a blank exercise book away with me on that trip, thinking I would start writing and I'll have this, pretty much half done. And of course, nothing, didn't write a word. But I came back from England, went into the city, bought a new laptop, which is what I'm talking to you now on, and started writing. And I wrote my memoir, A Mother's Journey, a story of everlasting love and evidence of life after death, which has that cover and lots of photos there of Sam. And it was published the next year, and so many parents who I have no idea who they are, they wrote to me just saying, you've changed my thinking about how to grieve the loss of my child or another loved one. And I always wrote it to be a book of hope, and to know that it actually hit that mark was amazing for me. So I was thrilled with that. And I continued doing my readings and so on. And in 2020, when COVID hit, I knew that I needed another project. So I had no idea, how long COVID was going to go for. And I didn't know what to write about, but I kept hearing all of these mixed reports or people being confused about mediumship, and they didn't really understand it. And there were lots of misconceptions about it, and no one really seemed to understand what it was, and they tried to make it into something super mysterious and scary, which it's not. It's just a simple, pure communication from one world to the next. That's it. So I decided I needed to write about that, but I didn't know how I was going to go about it. So I did a meditation, put it out there, what I'm going to write about. And when I came out of the meditation, I wrote down what I'd received. And I knew that I had to ask friends of mine who were mediums, who I had a connection with, to tell me about their journey to mediumship. And I knew that that would be the right approach to take with the next book. So I wrote it. It took me 1.5 years, but I got there. So this one, Demystifying Mediumship, What Makes a Medium, came out last November. And that has been wonderful for people to actually understand, once again, through not just my story here, but stories from other mediums, men, women, people of all ages, 5 different countries, how they discovered their own mediumship and what they've done with it. So that's what I wanted to share with you there. But I also want to talk to you because there's a real misconception that you have to use a medium to communicate with your loved one. It's certainly it's a wonderful way to do it, but I think it's really important that to know that you can all personally have a personal communication with your loved ones in the spirit world, and you can do that by firstly just really surrendering and trusting to what's going on around you. Now, the spirit world is pure energy. That is what they are. That if you think about when the physical death took place, the soul that resides within all of us, think of that as a little spark of light, a little disc that lives above your belly button in your torso. And when the physical death takes place, that is what goes into the spirit world, and that is what survives. Now, within that little ball of energy, within your soul, are all of your memories. It's the makeup of you, your personality. It's who you are. It's everything about you. It's your, just everything about you. Everything that is you except the physical body is contained within that spark of light. Now, once you can change your thinking about what you're trying to communicate or who you're trying to communicate with and in what form they are, if you understand that they're just energy, then you will then be more aware of the energy around you. Now, I know when Sam comes in, the energy is quite cold down near my left foot. And I know that that's when Sam is present. For other people, they might feel something that's hot. They might feel a little breeze. They might feel it behind them, above them. It can be anywhere. Now, just to demonstrate what I mean by the change of energy, if I close my eyes and do that, nothing's touching me, but I know there's a change of energy. There's something going on that's close to me. And that's about as subtle as it gets. So don't expect anything really groundbreaking, because that will really frighten you. It would frighten us as mediums as well. It's all a very subtle form of communication. And when you get with practice, and when you just go somewhere quietly that feels comfortable for you, invite the spirit world in and allow yourself to feel and talk to them out loud, and give them a chance to reply to you. You may have something that you want help with, and if you put it out there, because they want you to ask what's important to you, quieten your mind and just allow whatever drops in, drop in. It will sound like it'll be in your voice. It won't be in their voice, because that would be, too much. But just take on board what they've said. And it's often just words of calming for you, like, stop being so harsh on yourself, or why are you still, doing this or doing that? I'm fine. Whatever, you'll hear all sorts of different messages that they will be wanting to share with you. But it's so important to just trust and surrender. And yes, it will feel like you are absolutely making it up, but you are not. Okay. And the next thing I want to talk about are signs and signals. Now, these are things that are often dismissed. They're just, or just not seen, or they're just missed. And too many people put it down to a consequence, or that was just, no, that didn't really happen, or they just ignore it. Now, the spirit world have, they're incredible. We often, as mediums, talk about the intelligence of the spirit world and what they're able to actually, bring across. Now, for me, with Sam, I get a relentless supply of little white feathers, but they come at times when I need them. A birthday, an anniversary, when there's something going on that's really important. I've been overseas in Spain, for example, where Sam had shared a wonderful holiday with us, and I was in Toledo with our daughter, and Sam loved that city. And I remember seeing something just coming down, and I put my hand up like that, and a little white feather just landed in my hand. And I knew that was him, just like, I'm back there with you, and we just have to be open to seeing it. You might be finding coins in the most strangest places, or you might have animals behaving strangely around you, insects, birds, just very odd behavior. Just be mindful about what's happening. Now, when you see the animals, that is not your loved one in spirit, but somehow they're able to make them behave quite strangely. So don't ask me how, I don't know, but they have that real ability to do that. Sometimes I know a lot of people who see heart-shaped rocks, heart-shaped clouds, leaves, on billboards, this endless supply of hearts. So it's whatever you're receiving. Electricity is something else that they will often play with, just like Sam with the lights, and I loved that. And the first time we moved into our new place, we sold our old house in the year that Sam passed away, because it just didn't feel like home anymore. So we downsized to a brand new townhouse in another suburb. And the first night that his friends were coming here to visit, I put one of the bathroom lights on and the light blew. But it worked again the next day. So it was just Sam's way of once again showing me, it's okay, I know they're coming. And I love that. Often for me, I'll have jewelry that just undoes and drops off, or just breaks. I never lose it, but it's just sort of for me to recognize that it's just happened. I cannot tell you how many necklaces I've had just break, but never lose them. So it's once again this endless supply of ways that they make make us known. Another thing that I don't think a lot of people realize, that the spirit world wants us to communicate with them and they so desperately want to communicate with us. They want you to know that they have survived a physical death. It is so important to try and get that across. And it doesn't matter what their beliefs were when they lived, whether they believed in the spirit world or not. Once they're on the other side, they really want to make their presence known. And I lost a very dear friend about coming up 5 years ago, and I'd known him for 49 years. We met as 9-year-olds. And the only thing we ever disagreed about was my mediumship. He thought it was absolute rubbish. He believed in nothing beyond death. You know, death was final. It was just black. There was nothing. And we never agreed on that. But the day that Paul passed away with esophagus cancer, he sent me a message that very, very day by turning on, we've got a fridge out in the garage, and the light in there has not worked for 10, 12 years. And I bought some beer to go around to his family that night, because Paul loved to drink, and we're going around there, you know, to celebrate his life. And the light was off, obviously, when I opened the fridge, because it wasn't working. And I went to put the beer in, and the light came on, and I'm like, hello, you know what I'm doing here. And so then, you know, once on the other side, he changed his thinking. Now, if any of you do go and see a medium, I think it's important to know what to expect. And it's really, really important to know that the medium does not choose who comes through at a reading. It is the spirit communicator decides who's coming through. And sometimes at a reading, I'll be reading and I might have 3 or 4 people, and it's first in, best dressed, and then you're sort of jumping from one to the other. Sometimes it's just one, but I can't determine that. So it's important to go with an open mind. Of course, ask your loved one, your child in particular, to please be there, but just bear in mind they may not come through first. They may not come through at all, but they most definitely generally do, all right, because they want that communication to happen. And I think it's also really important not to go with what I call a wish list. Some people go and see a medium and they've got a list of, I expect the medium to tell me about this, 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 and this, and this. That may be important to them, but it's rarely what the spirit communicator wants to talk about. They're not interested in what mum or dad's got on a list of, tell me your high school teacher, or, you know, what sport did you play at primary school. Those things are irrelevant for what the spirit wants to communicate. If they want to communicate that, they will, but it's the list and what the spirit wants to communicate are rarely the same thing. So once again, it comes back to going with an open mind and just going with whatever you do receive. Of course, if it doesn't make sense, you let the medium know that. And the medium should not be ever asking you when you get there, who do you want to make contact with? What's their relationship? What did they die from? That's the medium's job. So please never go there telling the medium what you're expecting and from who, because it's about it's about what actually just happens, okay? And the medium should not be asking any of those questions at all. And it's also important that when that you just say, yes, I understand, no, I don't understand, or I'm not sure what you mean. And then the medium will give more information, but then don't go filling them in with a whole bunch of other things. At the end of the reading, of course, you can ask as many questions as you want, but don't go giving away information as it goes, because if you do that at the end of it, you'll be like, oh, I told them most of the things that they, you want to hear everything from them, not from you. Okay, so it actually doesn't help the medium if you're telling them all that stuff. You'll just no, that's their job. Okay, and be wary if they are wanting to ask you a bunch of things. I'd be very concerned how good they are. And before choosing a medium, choose one that's been referred to you, that you feel comfortable with, that you trust. And that's really, really important as well. Now, what's also important is the sorts of things that the spirit world will want to bring through are things that the medium will know nothing about, shared memories, things that you did together that were very important, or things that were simple pleasures that they loved, but something that will mean something to you. They might also start bringing through evidence of what you've been doing in your everyday life, and that's them wanting you to know, I'm with you, I'm watching you when you do that. And I don't mean that in a creepy way. I don't. It's often they are watching you when you're out sitting somewhere quietly, talking to them. The medium should be able to pick up on that, on what they're experiencing. They'll often share if they wish to. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes they do this because they want you to be clear that, once again, that it is them, and they'll allow the medium to know how they passed away. And we do that through actually feeling the sensations that they felt. And they will do that if that's what they want to do. They'll often allow you to have a physical description of what they looked like, or just the things that they loved or disliked, or just a whole bunch of things that you put all of the evidence together, and it tells the story of your loved one, and you are left in no doubt that is who the communication is with. So those things are really, really important. And just like in the living, some spirits are better communicators than others. Now, sometimes during a reading, I'll have the spirit there, but they're very quiet. They're sort of observing rather than joining in. And it's only when they sort of trust me that they'll come closer, whereas other ones will come in straight away with a whole bunch of information and the relationship. So, but those sorts of, the way they behave when they communicate with the medium is how they would have behaved here. So if they were great communicators when they lived, they're going to be great communicators from the other side. If they were shy and reserved when they lived, they're going to be shy and reserved when they communicate with the medium. But that's also great, because that also allows you to know that, yes, that's what they were like when they lived. If they had a gentle energy when they lived, that's the sort of energy we will feel from across the other side as well. And I also think it's absolutely essential to know that our loved ones in spirit, they want us to be happy again. And the last thing they want is people to be guilt-ridden about laughing again, or about having fun again, or about rejoining life and new experiences. They want us to rejoin life because they're watching us. They are living a parallel life to us and in an unseen place, but they are there, and they want only the best for us. And it's really important to remember that, to honor them in that way, so they don't see us being totally incapacitated by grief, because if you think about it, that is not helping them one bit. And for many, they will feel terribly guilty, particularly depending on how they passed, or they will just feel guilty anyway, because like, my family is so sad. So it's really important to think about all of what we experience emotionally from their perspective. It's not just about us, it's about them, and it helps them. And just in closing here, and I'll open up to any questions or anything else that you want to know about. I stress to everyone, don't be going to a different medium every other week. One mediumship reading a year or two, that's it. That is really all that you need. And no reputable medium will want people to be coming back time and time again, because they've already established that their loved one is in the spirit world. That it's just that's the whole purpose of the reading. So it's not going to be helpful to go and see 20, 30 different mediums and get, because you're in that bunch, you're going to get a whole lot of them who are, some are good, some are bad, some are terrible, and some are outstanding. So it's about finding a medium that you're comfortable with and just going once or twice a year. That is it. Okay. So I hope that makes sense to you. I don't know how I'm going time-wise because I've turned my phone off. And
no, yeah, we are good in time. We are definitely going to take on questions. I made a small typo with your earlier books, but I've put it back again. So both of Kerry's books are on the chat box. I will share a screenshot after the questions. I have a cover of the book. Her books are available on Amazon and Kindle as well. So y'all can.
They're also available, sorry to interrupt there, Chandra. Is there a thing called Flip Chat in
Flipkart? So it's available on Amazon and Flipkart, and also the Kindle version, yes.
Yes, that's right. And they're available worldwide, all through America, Book Depository, Walmart in the States, wherever you buy your things. But it's just a matter of Googling my name and they'll pop up somewhere. Yes.
And Kerry's website is also on the chat box. So you can contact her directly at any time, or you can contact me and Anil for any of the information about Kerry. We'll make sure that that's also on our HPH page when we share the video, and we'll put her details up. Yeah. So I leave it open for, please unmute yourself and ask Kerry whatever information you'd want to know from her. Please go ahead. You can ask her anything.
You can. Can I ask a question of you ladies, if you don't mind? Have any of you had a mediumship reading?
Yes. I have had.
Yes, I have also had.
Quite a few of us have, Kerry, because HPH also has a list of approved mediums, and they encourage people whenever they feel like to approach someone through the HPH site as well, because they are vetted by HPH. So, and we also get speakers who we know are trustworthy. So it's always nice to go with someone you know, because we are already vulnerable, and it helps to talk to someone who will not abuse that trust. So,
and I've put my name down. There's a waiting list with Helping Parents Heal for medium. So I'm on the waiting list. So to go through the vetting process. So,
but that doesn't matter, because even if you are on the waiting list with HPH, people who come on as our speakers and people whom we trust are people who also can be accessed individually by any of us, you know.
That's right. I've already been doing readings for some people that have contacted me. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Please ask away. I know someone.
Okay. Can I put in my first question, please?
Yes.
Kerry, one thing I wanted to ask you is that initially I used to feel very connected to my son. There was a two-way communication. I used to find signs. I used to look out for signs. I used to get signs. Of late, I feel as if I have gotten very busy in my life, or there are other things in my life which are keeping me occupied. I don't feel that connection. It is not that I'm feeling very sad that I'm not getting that connection. I'm at a place of peace. Basically, I'm not mourning him so much now. But still, sometimes I feel that I don't connect that vibrantly with him as I used to. Why is it so?
Well, it's a few reasons. Firstly, as you said, Anil, you are busy. So, you know, you're in a different headspace from where you would have been earlier on when your son passed. And also, it's your son, it will be around you without any doubt, but they're not there like 24/7. They're not just waiting for you to connect. It's when you have the need, when you sit down quietly and you put it out there, please come to me. That's when you're going to be able to make that reconnection, when you're opening up and surrendering yourself in a quiet time, and not just a quick, oh, I've got 2 minutes now, I'll see if he's there. It's about really just, you know, just low, you know, just really just settling yourself and being ready. And what about dreams? Has he been visiting in your dreams? Because that's often a way that they will
yes, it was
communicate.
there quite often. Of late, I've not even dreamt of him. Initially, it was, yes, it was very, very common for me to dream about him. But since past few months, there have been things happening in my family which are overwhelming. So I'm also not in that state of mind where I can think only of him. Initial days, we are just thinking of them, and them. Now there are other things that are occupying my headspace, just as you said.
Exactly. And he knows what's going on around you. He knows. I've spoken to you in the past, so I know that there are medical things going on at home with your in-law, with your father-in-law, but your son is aware of all of those things as well. So when the time is right, when you're ready again, he will be there. So it's not that he's gone off somewhere and like he's, it's just a matter of calling them back. That's all.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If I could, can I ask you a question, please?
Yes.
This is Kusma. Yeah. Kerry, what has been your experience with natural deaths versus forced, like a suicide? Whereas an accident like Sam, I would consider it involuntary, whereas my son literally committed suicide. I would consider that as a voluntary kind of a thing. So how is the connection there?
Firstly, I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm speaking to Santu, aren't I?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, from a medium's perspective, there is no difference.
I see.
The spirit. I've done many readings where the person has passed at their own hand, and the reality is often that they won't launch into that straight away, but when they want to be there for their loved one, but there's often an apology, and I can feel the energy of that person, that often there's a real depression that I can feel, and a sadness and a hollowness, and it's like they're in a spot where they can't lift themselves back out of it, and they put that on me, so I can feel that, and that's obviously where I need to choose my words very carefully when I'm doing the reading, and I would never use the word suicide in a reading, but I would use words like passing at their own hand, and that's when the mum or dad or sister, whoever it might be, will confirm, yes, that is what happened, and it's not. The communicator often does not want to go any further than that, and that's fine, because it just doesn't help you necessarily at all, but they just will let me know that that's happened. But they all everyone ends up in the spirit world, so there's no judgment, and for many people, Santu, life's easier on the other side than this side, and I'm a firm believer personally in many lives, and I do believe that this is one of many, and there will be more lives for all of our children as well.
Can I add a little bit to that, because my Naman passed by suicide, and from what I have learned till now, year 3 goes to 4, is that there is some amount of apology every single time that I connect with him, because I know he did not want us to be in this space after he passed on.
Yes.
So it is a broken contract, one that he broke probably before we could think of. But then I do know that he's in a space, he's safe, he's secured, he feels love on that side as well as on for us, and I don't see it any different from any other child who has passed by maybe illness or by accident or by self-harm. So the method of passing is really not important for our kids on the other side. The fact that they left us before is a cause of worry for all the children. So I think even children who have gone early with illness feel that they feel sad for their parents, because they know that we are missing them and we love them. I think that's the take that I have had, from all.
I agree, and definitely there's no people worry about punishment and this and that. It doesn't exist. It does not exist.
Yes.
They are happy on the other side because they can start living again on the other side for whatever reason why they couldn't hear.
Thank you.
I hope that helps, and too.
Yes.
Thank you, Chandra, for that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rashi, Angela, do you all have any questions? Nandita?
Yes, I would like to ask a question, Kerry. First of all, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. The way you explained and your entire story, it really resonated, all the feelings. I was just wondering that when you did all this study at the college, did you at any point get some sort of a feeling or a vibe that why do some children leave early, and why is this such a minority? Why are we a minority club? Why do some children just leave early? Or if I'm not asking you why, maybe that's too big a question. I'm just asking you that why is it that sometimes everything is so perfect and then it crashes? Have you been able to form some sort of theory or some sort of?
I've always had my own theory on this. And thank you for asking that question, because it is an important one. Personally, everything that I've talked about today are my personal beliefs, so I don't expect that anyone else has to take them on, but these are my experiences and what I believe. I believe that we have a lifespan. I believe we have an in date, that is birth, and we have an exit date, which is death. Now, for whatever reason, tomorrow, the 3rd of May, is Sam's date and my father's date. The same date, but 34 years apart.
I know that for me, I don't think that's a coincidence. When I heard that, I was like, there has to be more to this 3rd of May.
And that's why I believe that date was always set, and it wouldn't have mattered. I had that premonition about Sam and being led out by the police. Even if I'd gotten up early that morning and driven to where he was and removed him from there, he would have passed that day another way, because I honestly believe that those dates cannot change. And some babies draw 3 breaths, or they don't get to draw a breath, but that was their lifespan, that tiny minuscule one. Other people live to 100 or anywhere in the middle. You hear stories of some people, they've been battling cancer since they were 75, and they're now 98, and they're a medical. Angela would know about this, and I know a number of you here are medically trained. They defy every odd, but they can't actually pass because their end date has not come round. Or alternatively, you'll have someone who's super fit. My husband is really fit. He rides a push bike, and they'll ride for 120 kilometres without blinking. Now, they are supremely fit, but you hear all the time about someone just dropping dead, and in their 40s, nothing wrong with them. All of a sudden they had a heart issue. That was their date. That is my belief, Nandita, that those dates, whether they be long or short, can't change.
So it's like a predetermined point, and you just have to leave.
Leave, and what you do between your dates is free will. You do what you like. You lead the sort of life that you wish. That is up to us, what we do in that time. but when the time comes, nothing's going to change it. That is the date. Whether you pass from a suicide, you're always going to pass that date. The way you pass happens to be a suicide. The date, it's the dates can't alter. That is what I believe.
So just related to this, you also mentioned what a wonderful relationship Sam had with you. Did you ever wonder that if everything was going so right, for what reason would his exit point be 1.5 hours later? I mean, everything, it probably the life was there waiting for him. There was no illness, there was nothing, there was, so why? In my case, my daughter passed with an illness, but even then it was unexpected. It was just like a bolt from the blue, as much as maybe the car accident must have been for you. You've just spoken to him, and in 1.5 hours,
Yeah,
it's all over.
That's right. And I believe, though, Nandita, that premonition, that was so important. That premonition that I had was to make sure that I would wake up feeling uneasy in the morning, and I would ring Sam. Okay, I couldn't change what was going to happen, and everything that I had in that dream, that premonition came true, but it made me ring Sam. It was a trigger. Ring him up now. I had to ring him, and I did. So it's also, just digressing a little bit, Sam himself never believed in the afterlife, ever. Now, I remember when he was 17 or 18, he had a little part-time job at the local video shop when he was still at high school. And he came home one day and he said, "Mum, have you seen the movie Ghost?" And I said, "Yeah, I have." And he said, "What's it like?" And I said, "I loved it." And he said, "Do you want to watch it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be good." And then he said, "Do you believe in God?" And I'm like, I do actually. And we are not a family that goes to church, but I do believe in God. I separate, this sounds really strange, but I separate God from religion. So I'm not involved in the doctrines of how to live a life according to a certain church or churches, but I do believe, and I pray every day to a God, and I always have. And when I told him that, pardon my language here, he said, "Bullshit." And I said, "But I do." And he said, "But you never go to church." And I said, "But sweetheart, that's the difference. I do believe that there is a God, but going to church is not, that doesn't make me believe in God. Okay, the two are quite separate." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And that sort of made him think, but I'm thinking, why is he even asking me that? But it didn't sort of stay with me. And we, for whatever reason, the night we watched Ghost, I don't know where Sergio was, I don't know where Carla was. It was just Sam and I watching it together. And he loved it. And he was blown away by this whole concept of the spirit world and the medium and the things they could actually do. And there's a part in that movie about getting the cat's attention. Do you remember that, when there was an intruder in the apartment?
I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, okay, I'm spoiling a bit here. But anyway, I strongly recommend you watch it. Now, what happened after that, which I found really interesting, so I'm going forward a few years from watching Ghost with Sam to his passing to then me starting my mediumship journey. And a medium friend of mine said to me, she rang me up and she said, "Kerry, I have to tell you this." She said, she never met Sam. She's never been to our house here either. And she said, "Sam came to me this afternoon." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, what happened?" And she said, "Well, he's sprawled out on a couch and there's a cat at the end of the couch and he's trying to get her attention. And he's wearing jockey shorts, what do you call them? The sort of the silky underpants. Oh, the Americans wear boxer shorts. Sorry, he's wearing boxer shorts and a t-shirt. Boxes. And that was his standard uniform at home when there was no guests, visitors. So she said, "I can see him. He's sprawled out on your couch trying to get the cat's attention at the end of the couch." And we had an elderly cat, Megan, who belonged to Carla, our daughter. And Carla hadn't lived with us. She's with her boyfriend. he's trying to get the cat's attention. And I thought, oh, this is interesting, because that came up in Ghost. Now, that night, and she said to me, and I said to her, sorry, that cat, Megan, often gets up in the middle of the night, runs around like a lunatic, meowing, and then goes back to bed and just silence. And my friend said to me, next time that happens, see what the time is, because the time will be relevant. It'll be a message from Sam. And I'm like, okay. So I went to bed that night. Sure enough, Megan, in the middle of the night, meowing, running around madly. And I went straight to the bathroom where there's a digital clock, and the time was 3:05. Sam passed away.
3rd of May.
Yes.
3rd of May.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. And he was trying to get, that's as subtle as it gets. But if you're open to it, it's like, wow, she'd run around at all times of night, but that night he was aware of the discussion that I'd had with my friend Kristen. He knows what's going on. He wakes her at that time. She goes mad, running around, and I look at the clock. So
that's amazing. So I also get a lot of these kind of feelings, and sometimes I'm thinking that, am I going crazy that I'm connecting everything?
No, you're getting, that is your beautiful daughter trying to get your attention. Mum, they can only do so much, and we have to be open to what they can do. And as I said before, it's playing with electricity, the lights and radios on and TVs on and off. Also, they can sometimes move things where you put something small there and it's gone, but you'll find it in another room and no one's touched it. The first time I went to Arthur Findlay College in England, the first time I went, I booked into a hotel in Paddington. It was winter. It was when was it? It was February. All the windows are shut. I just arrived, sat my black leather bag down on the white doona cover, or duvet, or whatever you call them. We call them doonas. And above the bag, I saw just come out of nowhere a little feather just fluttered down, and I'm just staring at it, and it just landed on my bag. And I know that was Sam's way of like, I know what you're up to, Mum. I know you're going to this college. And then while I'm at the college, I'd get dressed each day and I'd put something new on, and I'd have a feather stuck here or over here on something else the next day. He was just prolific and just so excited. But I'm open to seeing these things. And the more open we are and not putting it down to a coincidence, not putting it down to, oh, what are the chances, or not just dismissing it, because that's, your beautiful children trying to get your attention.
That feels good to know. I mean, it really feels good to know that all that I'm seeing around me.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why now people say to me, you seem so happy. I am a happy person. I refuse to be back where I was 10 years ago after Sam passed. The thought of being back there, I couldn't bear it, because it's taken me 10 years of building and my happiness up again. And through my mediumship and understanding the healing aspects of being able to communicate with the spirit world, not just for myself, but for other people, then you realize I still have so much to be happy about. Sam's there, he hasn't gone. He's just in a different place. He communicates with me in the most amazing ways. And I'm very blessed that I get that so strongly, but everyone can get it if you allow yourself, to be open to it. And if for some reason you can't, then have that mediumship reading with someone that you trust and allow them to, make the connection. Yes, Rashi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been trying to put in a word with you all. Just today itself, right before the meeting started, I was trying to log in and I accidentally touched my phone with an elbow and tick, 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 it went. And I turned back and saw what it was, and this is what it was. Oops.
Rashi,
Sorry.
you read it for us. Read it.
It's 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 4.
Oh my God.
There are 3 4s in it.
Yes.
And I knew it was my son doing it because he's been playing with my cell phone a lot.
Yep.
I have been sort of receiving messages which actually make half sense. They don't make full sense because it's kind of gibberish language at times. I have to unravel it and try to make sense out of it. There would certainly be some angel number in it, like a 0000000 or a 444 or a 333 or a 111, and then the message starts. And I wonder who is this? Like it's generally it seems as if I tapped it accidentally. Like today, I accidentally hit my iPad with my elbow, and this thing got typed automatically. So for some reason, messages are getting typed onto my WhatsApp chat accidentally, maybe seemingly from my side. But when I look at it and I say, no, I haven't typed this. This has not been typed by me. Who has typed it? Who was there or who was here? Who's typed it? And they almost make, like, I would put it 50 to 75% sense. So it's not completely gibberish, but yes, partially gibberish. Like, for example, once I was typing a message to my colleague in the office. I had just opened my WhatsApp chat. I hadn't started writing, and suddenly there was a shriek from my father-in-law's room, as if he fell down or something. I left the phone down there itself on the center table of my drawing room, and I rushed to check on him what happened. And after a few minutes, when he was settled down, and I came back again and picked up my phone, the light was still on. I mean, after even 2-3 minutes, I think it should automatically go off, but the light hadn't gone off. It was still on. And I picked it up and I started to complete what I had wanted to type. And I saw that the message is already typed. I said, but I didn't type this. What is this? I started reading it. And it was a pretty lengthy message starting with 0000000, and then the message starts, and there were full formed words with names of people. And I was like, I had goosebumps all over me, and I said, I have to save this message. And I have a guru, I have a Reiki guru who helped me through my healing. I said, I have to show this to him because this is a message from someone. Most likely it's my son, I know that. But at that initial stage of my grief, I was not so well trained as to try and decipher these things or decode these things. So what I did was that I completed sending it to that colleague of mine because it was ready to be dispatched to her. And from there, I copied it and pasted it somewhere else and immediately deleted from her chat before she could see it. And then later on, I showed it to my Reiki healer, and together we unraveled it bit by bit, and bit of the things that he explained to me and bit of the things that were obvious to me, because I know my son, I know our circumstances, I know everything that's happening with my family. So most of it I could unravel myself. Whatever I couldn't, he helped me unravel it with his experience, and it made complete sense to me. It made complete sense to me. There was a message there for me. I can't believe it. I mean, that was the starting point of my healing journey. Till that time, I was a wreck. I was a completely gone case. I mean, from being an absolutely, what I can say, a very talented and a very on the go kind of a person, I was like a mess. I was totally, and I felt that I can never rise back again. I felt that I'm done for life. I'm finished. I'm finished, and nobody can heal me. Nobody on this earth can heal me, and I just have to live like a wreck for the rest of my life for the sake of my daughter. But things did start to turn around, and that day was the first day of my turning around. The process was very slow, but yes, I can say that I'm not completely healed, but I am much better off than what I was at that point of time. And looking at my past 2 years journey, I feel that if I could achieve this much in 2 years, I'm sure I can achieve much more in 20 years. In fact, to all the mothers who might be listening, I can say that we are a powerhouse of energy, because now we don't just have our own energy helping us, we have the energy of our children helping us. So there is no way that we can waste the rest of our life. We have to utilize it. We have to utilize the time well, on whatever time we have left on this earth.
Absolutely. And
question.
thank you for sharing that. That is a beautiful story. And it's also about the intelligence of the spirit world, to know that, you know, they'll do all sorts of things to get your attention. And I mean, that is just amazing. But they'll do, yeah, all sorts of things, tipping things over, you know, and a lot of people, I did a reading recently for a beautiful mum in America, and she was saying that, you know, she was talking to a friend one day, and a cup fell over in the cupboard, just dropped, and she was like freaking out about it, and I was so excited about it. And she's like, and the friend was excited, and she's saying, that's a sign. And it was a sign, you know, nothing broke. It just got tipped over. Like, I'm here, I'm trying to get to you. And that's what they'll use, any means possible. But you, once you made that connection, Rashi, you, as you said yourself, your grief starts to, there's a healing component comes in, because it's your child making that contact with you to let you know. And you've got a daughter still to care for. You need, we can't just ignore our other children because we've lost a child. It's so unfair. It's so essential that we keep, you know, you know, happiness going in the family for them as well, because they are also grieving in their own way. And we have to be the big people here and set the, you know, example that, yes, of course, we love our, you know, our children, and we miss them so much, having them here in the physical, but they are still here. And I think it's important also, I don't make the mistake of telling a lot of, I don't share a lot of what I do with people unless in a situation like this, because they probably want to lock me up. But, you know, if you're with people who understand where you're coming from, then I'll share whatever. But I never sit down with my friends who are non-mediums and try and explain what I do or how I do it, because they just don't understand it. And and that's fine. So that's why I just think I would never try and instill my own beliefs on other people. This is how I believe, but then I'll share it, and then, you know, and then people do what they wish with what I share.
Can I add something? Because what Kerry said, no, the child's personality comes through in many, many ways. A simple example is I had 3 cat experiences last week. And cat experiences meaning up close, personal, rubbing against my leg and sitting on me kind of cat experiences. I don't have pets in the house. My child is an animal lover, but we never had any pets in the house because we live in a very small apartment. So the ways the sign come are immense. I mean, if it can come through a pet, because the sensitivity of a pet at home is very different. We have many more blockers, but animals are the most beautiful message vehicles for spirit world, you know, as Kerry said, with the cat experience. So if we keep ourselves open to anything that we can receive, that we feel that we are okay with accepting, and will help us heal. I use heal very loosely, help us be okay on that particular day. I think we should just take it without judgment, because if it worked for us, I think nothing else matters and no one else matters. You know, we do it for ourselves to get by every day, day by day, day by day. And I think that's what they call the healing process, to try to come to some semblance of normality every day, literally that.
And it is a step-by-step, mini steps. It's not just one big leap, oh, I'm okay now, because that's not how it works. It's, you know, step by step by step. And that is how it actually works. Yeah, it's just not one great big one. I was going to say something then, and it's just gone. Oh, the other day, if I can share this story. Do we have time?
We have as much time as you have, Kerry, unless Zoom says you're beyond. No, I don't.
Okay, all right. The other day, I've got a lovely client of mine up in Sydney, and she's great. She listens to me. She has one reading a year. Okay, so she was coming for this year's reading, And the last 2 times that she's come through, her beautiful cat has always been there and loves to be looking in the screen and talking and so on. And I've been able to share all sorts of information about this cat, like its new wicker basket and this and that. And she's wanting to communicate with her husband. Now, her lovely husband comes through every single time. He is such a brilliant communicator. He's amazing. Now, before I did the reading, I always do a meditation first. Now, in that meditation, her husband was already there waiting, like, so I knew that he'd be there. But he's showing me this cat and I knew the cat's name, but I'm seeing him holding it, and I thought, oh, she's passed. And I then did my reading with my client, and I said, one of the first things I said, look, I have to ask you, is your cat, and I used the name, is she okay? Because your husband's showing me that she's either already in the spirit world or about to go into the spirit world. And for my client, it was the most amazing thing. She said, thank you for telling me that. She said, she's about to pass any day now. And it's such a comfort for me to know that he is waiting for her. And I said, well, he absolutely is. And she was going to have her put down. This was on the Thursday, and she was going to put her down on the Monday. So as the reading's going on, this other cat appeared out of nowhere, and she's like, oh my goodness, she said, and she introduced this other cat, and she said, he never ever comes out when I'm talking to anyone. He's so scared, even though he's 11, he just hides. But this cat was all over her. He's looking at me and he's knocking down, he's bumping something. And I said, what's he knocked over there? And it was a photo of her husband that he's knocked over. And then I could see this sort of orange ball. And I'm saying to her, there's something, I thought it was the fruit, oranges, and because I'm trying to interpret what I'm seeing. And I said, do you have oranges there, or is there a love of oranges? She's like, no. And then I said, oh, I'm sorry, I've got this orange ball that I'm seeing. And she said, oh no, hang on. And she left the screen and came back, and she came back with this orange ball that the cat was playing with, but it had little flowers on it. It was, so this is the cats are so spiritual. Somehow they're doing all of this stuff. But just as we were about to finish that reading, this cat had disappeared. He kept coming and going. Then I thought it was him again. And I said, oh, here he comes. And she said, oh no. She said, this is the other cat that's about to die. And somehow it managed to climb up onto a countertop. So it jumped up and came and just stared at me in the screen and meowed at me. I was crying because it was just like, oh my God, she could not believe it, because the cat was bedridden, but it, through its own, ability or whatever, it came to say goodbye. And she sent me a message the next day that it died. Yeah, but I mean, how amazing is that? Yeah, so, animals, it's just, we just don't dismiss any of the communications. Yeah, they're incredible. Yeah. So.
Anyone else? Questions?
If anyone.
Nandita, Anuja, Anjula, sorry.
No. If anyone's got things that they want to ask, just you've got my website there, or you can just send me an email at.
I'm just sharing a slide of.
Okay. Yep.
This is the first book, A Mother's Journey. This is Kerry's first book, and this is the second book, Demystifying Mediumship. Both the book names have been put in the chat box, as well as Kerry's website address. Y'all can feel free to communicate or talk, catch up with her, send her a mail or whatever.
Yes.
Chandra, can I interrupt?
Yes, please.
Chandra, you have given the name of both books, but the third chat that you have written is you have repeated the name of the first book.
Yes, because I made mistakes in the first chat and I cannot edit it. And
Okay,
that's
so
why
you have to put the website address.
the website is on top. Kerry has shared the website first on the chat.
Okay, I didn't get it. Then I didn't get it. It is not showing in my chat box. Sorry.
Okay, I will repeat it again. One.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes. so
Maybe
it's-
I was having internet interruption in between. So maybe during that time, the chat has not appeared in my chat box.
So I will just again repeat Kerry's address. Anyone else have any questions? The reason I'm very sorry, Kerry, I made a typo with the with your surname and the book name. So
yeah.
I did it again.
Challenging. Yeah.
That
I
comes
have
with-
one question for Kerry. Kerry, when can we meet again?
Sorry.
She's being
When can
directed.
we meet again? That is the only question I have.
She wants to know when we can meet again. So
Oh.
as far as I know, Kerry has got a very packed European summer.
Just ask me. With groups like this, I'm happy to talk whenever you want. I'm heading back to England at the end, 4 weeks today. I'll be on a plane going back, and I've got 2 more weeks at Arthur Findlay College,
Yes.
which I cannot wait. And then I'm staying in Europe for a holiday. So, but you can always contact me, and I'll respond. But I'm actually not back in Australia till the 2nd of August. When it's a long trip. So, yeah.
So there are no
So
questions.
we'll catch you again after that.
Yes.
Right, Chandra?
Yes. We catch you
We'll catch you
after.
after that. Once you're back, we are going to catch you again.
Yes, I'm speaking to the Canadian group in September of Helping Parents Heal.
Yes.
So yeah, if anyone wants to talk to me, or if you've got a specific sort of, I've spoken very broadly today, but it's, whatever you want, just ask me. That's
Yes.
fine.
Yes.
That's fine.
So feel free to connect with Kerry, and thank you so much, Kerry. I know we
Thank you.
went beyond the allocated hour, but it's been such a pleasure. I mean, we really didn't. It didn't feel like a burden. It just felt like talking to an old friend. So it's really amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kerry.
Her
You're
books
most
are
welcome. And
her
I've
first.
enjoyed.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, I've enjoyed meeting you all as well, and thank you for being so open with your own deeply personal stories. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kerry.
Her
Thank you.
her books are so recommended. It's very easy to read. It's like a love story. Please read it. She's an amazing author. I could not put it down. At least I did the first book. I've yet to come to the second. So please do read. Please contact her for anything you want, and we promise to have her back sometime soon. Well,
That'd be
not
awesome.
before September. We'll allow her to
Yeah.
enjoy her holiday.
Busy woman. But I'm honored. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Angela,
Thank
Rashi, Nandita.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kusuma. Thank you,
And I'm
Kerry.
not too hot for you all. Okay.
Yes.
See you.
Bye. Bye. I'm so thankful to have you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing this. And bye.
Angela, I'm so happy you got a cup of tea somewhere in the
I managed.
And Kusuma, so lovely to see you. Please, please, your dog baby is your spirit guide, So please hug the dog baby of yours. And thank you for sharing, Rashi. Amazing. Amazing.
My pleasure, and it was really nice, being with you all today and connecting with Kerry as well. I personally did. The recording is still on. I think you
Yes,
should
that's
just.
okay. I'll stop the recording. I'm sorry.
Yeah.